Welcome. Mr. Davis, you may proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairperson Alexander and members of the Committee on Public Services and Consumer Affairs. I am Derek Davis, Chairperson of the District of Columbia Board of Barber and Cosmetology. Joining me today are Deborah Steiner, Chairperson of the Board's Tattooing and Body Piercing Committee, and Clifford Cooks, Program Manager of the Occupational and Professional Licensing Administration within the Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to comment on Bill 19-221, the Regulation of Tattoo Artists and Body Piercing Artists Act of 2011. The bill will grant authority to DCRA to regulate the occupation of tattooing and body piercing in the District of Columbia. Although the Board concurs with your position that regulations of the tattoo and body piercing industries is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of District consumers, the Board believes that the City would be better served if regulatory authority in this area was granted to our Board, with the administrative support of OPLA and DCRA. In April 2010, the Board established a tattoo committee, and Deborah Steiner, along with other members of the committee, were tasked with researching best practices to establish a regulatory framework that would be implemented through the adoption of regulations to govern tattoo artists and establishments. In addition, several members attended the 2011 DC Tattoo Arts Expo in Virginia and the Ink Fest Live Tattoo Expo at the DC Armory earlier this year. During the expo in Virginia, Board members met with past Virginia regulatory officials who were instrumental in creating Virginia's tattoo and body piercing regulations. The committee is currently nearing the final stages of a draft set of possible regulations that would govern the tattoo profession, should the Board be given the statutory authority to do so. Although the committee has not, until very recently, focused on the development of regulations for body piercing, the committee is certainly up to the task. Thus, the Board respectfully requests that you consider amending the bill as drafted based on the following alternatives. In order to give regulatory authority to the Board, the Non-Health Related Occupations and Professions Licensure Act of 1998, DC Official Code 47-2853.01 must be amended. Specifically, we would recommend that tattoo artists and body piercing specialists be added to the list of non-health related regulated professions listed in DC Code 47-2853.04A, and that the regulation of these professions be assigned to the Board through an amendment to the DC Official Code 47-2853.06C. Additionally, scopes of practice for each occupation would have to be added, perhaps a new Part E2, following the DC Official Code 47-2853.83, and the composition of the Board and the DC Official Code 47-2853.06C would need to be revised to ensure fair representation of the tattoo artists and body piercing industry. I should note that DCRA is in agreement with the Board's position in professionally licensing and regulating these two industries. I should also note that the Department of Health has raised several issues related to the health and sanitary implications of the bill. DOH mandates to regulate all district health facilities would extend to tattoo and body piercing establishments. As such, health inspections of these facilities would be conducted by DOH. DOH will be submitting written testimony separately to your committee with their concerns with their concerns. Briefly, in enacting the legislation, DOH would ensure that tattooed body piercings are performed in a safe and sanitary environment. Towards that end, DOH recommends expanding the definition section so that body art encompasses all forms of body modification, including some extreme forms such as branding, scarification, tongue bifurcation, and others. That agency believes that the most problematic area in the body art field involves unsafe practice by those who operate outside a legitimate establishment, do not maintain appropriate sanitary conditions, and do not use sterilized equipment or jewelry. Again, thank you, Chairperson Alexander, for introducing this bill. We are prepared to address any questions or concerns you may have at this time.
Thank you for your testimony. I will let Dr. Waldo testify before I begin questions. I just wanted to make note when someone mentioned earlier testimony, body piercing does incorporate all parts of the body. It was mentioned about genital or the nipple piercing was not, everything is included in addition to ear piercing. So I just wanted to make note of that. Dr. Waldo?
Good afternoon, Chairperson Alexander and members of the Committee on Public Service and Consumer Affairs. I am Sal Waldo, Senior Deputy Director for Health Regulation and Licensing Administration within the Department of Health. The Health Regulation and Licensing Administration licenses and regulates healthcare professionals across 22 different boards, healthcare facilities, food, drug, radiation, and community hygiene programs. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to comment on Bill 19-221, the Regulation of Tattoo Artists and Body Piercing Artists Act of 2011. The Department of Health Functions Clarification Act of 2001 mandates DOH license and regulates all health-related facilities and would extend to tattoo and body piercing establishments. DOH supports this legislation with the following amendments to Sections 3B and 3C to authorize DOH to license operational activities for tattoo and body piercing establishments, regulate tattoo and body piercing establishments to ensure each provides adequate health, sanitation, sterilization, and safety procedures, equipment and supplies, establishes operating standards for sanitation and sterilization procedures for tattoo and body piercing establishments, and establish license and associate fish shells. Tattoo and body piercing services must be performed in a safe and sanitary environment. As such, the public health safety and welfare are best served by health inspection conducted by the Department of Health. When all health-related facilities adhere to the same inspection standards, individuals who use health-related facilities are further protected from unnecessary injuries. In addition, the district government could choose to limit the type of tattoo and body piercing procedures allowed within its jurisdiction. If a procedure is prohibited, criminal sanctions, at least at the gross misdemeanor level, will be needed for enforcement to be effective. Specifically, the Department of Health would expand the definition section to the body art encompasses all forms of body modification, including but not limited to tattooing, which is indelible mark or figure fixed on the body by insertion of pigments under the skin, body piercing, perforation of any human body part other than earlobe for the purpose of inserting jewelry or other decoration or for some other non-medical purposes, micropigmentation or cosmetic tattooing, use of a tattoo for permanent makeup or hiding or neutralizing skin discolorations, branding, which is indelible mark burned into the skin or a living human being using instruments of thermal, cautery, radio hyperfurcation, and strike branding, scarifications, which are indelible mark or figure fixed on the body by production of scars, suspensions, which are from of a body art, where a person hangs from a fixed hook placed through temporary piercing. Subdermal implantation of an object resides entirely below the dermis. Microdermal single-point perforation of any human body parts other than an earlobe for the purpose of inserting an anchor with a step either protruding from the flesh or the skin, and tang bifabrication, which is cutting of a tang from a tip to part the way towards the base, forking at the end. And tissue removal, which is endable mark or figure fixes the body by removal of dermis. And then finally, the laser tattoo removals, which are now becoming very popular, and also the Washington Post had an article on December 11th that talks about the tattoo removal by laser means. So the definition of a body art does not include piercing or other premolar or lobe of the ear using pre-sterilized single-use stud and clasp ear piercing system. There is a great concern expressed by piercing professionals as to the sanitary conditions and practice of ear piercing businesses at retail establishments specializing in accessories and jewelry. Retail establishments offer ear piercing, use plastic equipment that cannot be sterilized. Employees of these establishments are frequently minors with a minimal training. Currently, the most problematic area in the body art field involves the unsafe practice by practitioners who provide services outside of legitimate establishments, do not maintain appropriate sanitary conditions, and do not use either sterilized equipment or jewelry. The unsafe locations include, but are not limited to, residential kitchens, the basements, garages, and motor vehicles, such as vans. Therefore, DOH would require all establishments requiring training, which includes industry-specific blood-borne pathogen training, which is CPR, and first aid. Industry-specific training is available through several professional organizations, including the Association of Professional Piercers and Association of Professional Tattooers. A partnership which is of 200 hours for each practitioner. DOH research and investigation failed to find consensus as to what would constitute an appropriate and effective training period. Prevent cross-contamination of blood-borne pathogens through the use of single-use disposable needles and supplies on each client, and glove use on each client. Use of latex gloves should be prohibited due to the degradation of latex when it's exposed to Vaseline or petroleum products. And we also like to see that these establishments maintain records which identify the physical location on the body where the work was performed. It is imperative clients receive clear and concise aftercare instructions directly related to the particular procedure they received. Clients are responsible for ensuring their own safety after the completion of the procedure and shall acknowledge a receipt of written aftercare instructions. Requirements related to the minors should include documentation of the relationship between the minor and the guardian present, including but not limited to birth certificate. Some practitioners interviewed stated it was apparent that some minors had attempted to obtain procedures using either counterfeit identification or consent forms signed by individuals posing as a parent or guardian. And also we would like to see that these establishments maintain and exhibit an exposure control plan as mandated by the United States Department of Labor, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, pursuant to the blood-borne pathogens. This will ensure adequate protection of practitioners who are inevitably exposed to blood-borne pathogens during procedures. Outline exposure control plan procedures to be taken when practitioner is exposed to a blood-borne pathogen through the practitioner's eyes, mouth, or mucous membrane, non-intact skin, or peripheral contact with blood or other potentially infectious materials during procedures. Calibrate autoclaves equipment at least once a year and maintain documentation thereof. Calibration of autoclaves will